Hello, my name is Monica Ward, and I'm here to talk about the Fulbright Distinguished Awards in Teaching Program in regards to Singapore. The Fulbright program is a U.S.-sponsored program that's supported by the United States State Department and Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs. The Institute of International Education administers the Fulbright Distinguished Awards in Teaching Program on behalf of the U.S. Department of State. So it's a government-sponsored organization. The Fulbright Distinguished Awards in Teaching Program components include courses that you will audit, one or two courses at the host university in areas that are relevant to your subject area or your project. You'll visit local schools and observe classes and offer workshops or seminars, participate in an online professional learning community, and complete an inquiry project. A little bit about me. I go by Micki. I'm a high school academic coach and link crew coordinator at Ramona High School that's located in Riverside, California. And since my trip, I have now become the technology coordinator in addition to my other duties at school. Why did I choose Singapore? Well, my high school went one-to-one with Android tablets 6 years ago, and I was put in charge of it. And I'm not a techie, I wasn't. And I depended on research and students for a lot of the information and help that I received. In doing my research, two countries kept coming up as being ahead of the curve in implementing technology as part of the curriculum, and that was Singapore and Finland. And so I really wanted to find a way that I could learn more about what they were doing, and applying for the Fulbright opportunity was one of those ways, to be able to go and see firsthand and learn from Singapore how they were beginning to implement technology successfully in the classroom. The Singaporean system is highly attractive to me as well. It has high quality education. It always ranks very high in all of the global tests. It has a very centralized system. And that's helpful to me because then I know there are certain things that are being held constant. They're all getting this, all the teachers are getting the same education, the system is the same, and requirements are the same across the board. So I could really look at what I wanted to look at in terms of technology. English is also the language of instruction, which was very reassuring to me. It's a multicultural environment, and I work in a multicultural environment, and so that really I wanted to see similarities between the systems. And like I said, when I was doing the research, I really found their technology plan to be solid and continuing to evolve. So it was really something that I really wanted to go see. And as you can see in this picture, this is a picture of one of their secondary schools. Their campuses are just amazing. They really care a lot about education in Singapore. It's highly valued. It is the second largest funding for any resource in the country other than defense. Besides that, as you can see, just beautiful blue skies. It is in Southeast Asia. It's an island nation. It's just gorgeous. And one of the best parts for me was there was no snow. And being from California, I was very excited there was rain. So it's just a wonderful place to visit, and it just has a lot of really great aspects to look at in terms of education. What was a typical day like for me? It was very exciting. I treated it much like I treat my work here at home. I attended school 3 to 4 days a week. I had a ton of support from the Ministry of Education. And you can see this is Lydia. This is my buddy teacher. She took me to my schools the first couple days, made sure I had everything that I needed. And over here you can see that these are members of the support team. And they always invited us to come to different activities, and were there to support us and really help us in any way that we needed. On the campuses, I observed in classrooms, I talked to the teachers, I worked closely with my buddy teacher. Right here, this is one of my buddy teachers. And some of the days I also attended classes at National Institute of Education, which is known as NIE. It was just a really great opportunity to actually be on a campus, interacting with students, interacting with the staff, and really being a learner. It was just an opportunity to experience all the things that you want to do on your own campus, but can't because you're teaching. And so I got to be a learner and a student in a lot of ways, and it was really, really an exciting time. And I learned more than just what I went to learn about my inquiry project. I learned a lot just about teaching and about interacting with others and just how to work with different kinds of bilingual students. It opens your eyes to a lot of opportunities. Some of the highlights, of course, were the kids. I went in January, and I had left school 3 weeks prior, and I hadn't seen kids for a while. First day of school for me was the third day of school for the students at the school I was at, and the assistant principal reminded them not to walk on the grass, which for me was like, okay, I can do this. I can be here because kids are kids no matter where you are. And they are. They want to take selfies with you. They want to ask you crazy questions. Probably the craziest question I got asked was, how much does milk cost in California? Because you have lots of cows. And I thought that was really, really interesting, that types of questions the kids want to know about the United States and where I come from. The collegial experiences were amazing to have just a whole new group of friends and colleagues now that I still communicate with. My advisor was Professor Zachary Walker. He introduced me to a couple other professors on campus, and we went out to eat, and we just socialized, and I learned about some other department areas. Got to know somebody in the communications department at the university, and it was just an opportunity to expand my horizons and continue to learn. And again, just the people that you meet are just a wonderful opportunity to get to know other people, other cultures, other religions. But probably one of the biggest things was the food in Singapore. They pride themselves on their food. I even thought the food on campus was good. I ate at school almost every day. Durian, this is a picture of durian. It's an interesting fruit. I did not particularly care for it, but it's something that if you go to Singapore, you have to try. So just remember durian. If you make it to Singapore, you got to try durian. But you'll try lots of different foods. It's a really exciting place to be. I just recommend just trying and then asking what it is. They won't steer you wrong. They're really wonderful people and want to share and indulge you in trying lots of different foods and making sure that you have a great experience. Another fun part of my experience was really being able to do some presentations on the U.S. educational system. In Singapore, being a single system, they really only know one way. And so it was really interesting for them to hear about how does it work in the United States. We're really decentralized, and what is the role of the federal government versus what is the role of the state, and then how in a state does it break down into these things we call districts. And so a lot of questions, asking for a lot of clarification, and it was really fun to share what our system is and hear what their thoughts were on the Common Core and what it means to have standards and choose your own textbooks and a free education. Students in Singapore do have to pay for school. It's not a great deal, but they do have to pay for school and purchase their own books and supplies. And having those conversations about the rationale behind our system was really exciting, and it was fun to share. And I really encourage you to reach out and have those kind of conversations. And most of all, it was just about personal growth. It was an opportunity for me, like I keep saying, to be a learner, to go back and really be the student and just open my eyes to everything, not just in the classroom, but in my college classes I took, the classes I audited, and the relationships I had with professors and different staff members at the university, eating different foods, going different places, even different modes of transportation. It just is an experience that you come back really being able to share with your students just a whole nother way of life. I know my students get really wrapped up in our little world around Ramona High School and really help them get out and see the rest of the world and really understand that it's okay to go out there and to really explore and expand your horizons. So my project when I went, like I said, was about technology. I really needed to figure out how to make it work. We did go one-to-one 6 years ago, and I will be honest, it's been very rocky. And I've tried, and the administration has tried, and just really attempting to make it successful when we were the first public high school in the Western United States to do what we were doing. So I wanted to see, well, how are they making it work? What kind of supports do they have? And so my initial title of my inquiry project was The Hidden Informal Structures Created by Teachers Resulting in Successful Technology Implementation. And I went trying to see really what were teachers doing? What were the things that were set up in class? And it really morphed into not just what teachers were doing, but what was the administration doing? What is their Ministry of Education doing to really help and support teachers and this use of technology in the classroom? And so it became the use of ICT, which is Information and Communication Technologies, in the Singapore curriculum. We call it technology here, they call it ICT. I think Singapore is the only country I know of that has more acronyms than the United States does. So that was fun. But when you get there, and I knew ahead of time what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. But they are so wonderful. They have that team that really sets you up for success. I got assigned to schools in the areas in which I rented an apartment. They find the right placement for you with the right people. They take you to school. They introduce you. They give the school a reminder of what your project area is and what the requirements are from their end. If you want to see other schools, I wanted to reach out and see some additional schools, and absolutely let us go ahead and plan that for you. We'll reach out. We'll get that for you. And they did. Singapore has a system of master teachers, and I was connected with a master teacher for information and communication technologies, as well as history, because that's my background, was a history teacher. And other than that, it also was in the area of science, because a lot of the science classes were using the technology, and so I was going into science classes, and I needed a little more support into what I was seeing, how it was being used, and what the rationale for using it was. So having access to that science master teacher was a personal benefit for me because I needed it. I needed somebody to help me with the science. The system is really similar to the United States, but it was different. And so I went looking for certain things based on my background and my knowledge and what I read. But when I got there, I discovered that I had to tweak things. You have to be open to making adjustments. Not huge, large-scale adjustments in what you plan to do. If you do that, you really need to talk to the people at IEE. But go with an idea of what you want, but be flexible in how you get there. The road that you choose isn't always the best road, so let the people who know really help guide you down the right path. And that's what I did. I really opened up myself to where they thought was best for me to go, who they thought was best for me to talk to. And I made additional suggestions, and that's why they totally supported me seeing other schools and other systems. But I relied on them, and I learned to let go of being the one in charge, being the teacher, and being the learner, and really allowing myself to adapt to my environment and adapt to their system and really understand it for what it was and not try to judge it or change it, but really just live within it and understand what's going on within their context. So I really recommend you look for something that you want to do, come up with a plan, but really be open to that whole idea of, following their path and making sure that you're really learning from their perspective and not just from our perspective in the United States. But it's great in Singapore. They have so many people there to help and support you, and just for anything, really. I was not feeling well. They helped me find medication. It's a wonderful system and a wonderful place to be. My project really has taken me onto new horizons. I've presented before my school board. I've had some private meetings with my superintendent and assistant superintendent in my district, as well as in neighboring districts, as far as what did you see, what did you learn, what can we bring back here, are there simple things that we can do right now, and just real open and honest conversations, and asking me to be that fly on the wall and say, now you've seen something else, something totally different. Now when you're looking at our system, what can we do to tweak it and help it be better? And so I really think that it's made a huge impact in who I am. It's expanded my horizons in terms of my PLC and just the people I've met and opportunities for my future. I've had a meeting with the people at Guru, which is an online nonprofit, and they're extremely interested in what I learned in Singapore and seeking my help and reaching out to the people in Singapore, which feels really good that somebody wants me to help make a connection. I'm still working on presenting before the California State Board of Education. They're interested in what I learned from a state level. I used to be on a commission at the state level, and so I'm trying hard to get a presentation before them because I think there's some things that we can learn and implement in California. I've applied to speak at 2 technology conferences and going to apply to a 3rd one. I want to share what I learned. What I really want to do is go to the top of a mountain and just scream. These are all the things that we can take away. I feel like I gave something to the people of Singapore and their educational people that I spoke with, and now I want to bring that back and really give that to everybody here in the United States, because I think there's simple little things that we can do really to make our system better and to acknowledge that there's ways to improve who we are as educators and our educational system. But mostly it's really changed how I approach and interact with my students and my staff when I do professional development. I'm much more cognizant of what's going on in the room. In Singapore, they're very well behaved during professional development. Everyone sits and listens and follows along and does exactly what you ask them to do. And one of the reasons for that is because there's always a real specific outcome. And I don't think I've made my outcomes as clear as I made them in Singapore. And now I'm really making those outcomes much clearer and much more pointed than I ever have before. And with my students, I've always tried to get them to go out and explore the world, but now I just want to inspire them. I want them to go out and take those trips. I want them to apply for international exchanges. I had students who actually went to Germany because I told them if I can go to Singapore, they can go to Germany. And I serve a very high proportion of poverty students, and they didn't think they could do anything. And I told them I thought the same thing. I thought, I'm just a teacher from Riverside, California. Why am I going to get a Fulbright? You know, are they sure? And I did. And I really want people to believe that you can do it. You know, even if you're just a little blonde-haired girl from Riverside, you can go out and be a Fulbrighter and learn and engage with the world and then bring it back and change where you're at. And I hopefully I'm doing that. And it was an incredible adventure, I have to say. Yes, I went to school at least, but mostly 4 times a week, sometimes 5 days a week, because that's what I do. That's what I've been doing for 21 years. I go to school. I had a workspace at school. I worked on my project. I worked on my homework. But I did take time to have fun. Singapore has the highest open public swimming pool and at a hotel. And I actually went up there. That's the first picture. I went up there and actually swam in that pool. It's an infinity pool. It was an amazing experience for me. A little scary because it was up so high, but it was amazing. I rode on public transportation. I have to admit I miss my car, but Singapore has, as you can see in this picture, it's incredibly clean public transportation, incredibly efficient, and cheap. One of the few things that's really cheap in Singapore is their public transportation. And so it really is an adventure. You just have to take it and run with it. I actually took a pedicure with fish, which was, I giggled my way through it. It was interesting. But there's all kinds of interesting things to see and do. And yes, Singapore is expensive. Yes, you get a stipend, you get a grant, and it covers your costs. If you budget wisely, which I learned how to do, there's lots of things that you can do in Singapore that are just an incredible experience, and you can see the world over there. It's so multicultural. There's so many expats from so many different areas. There's a Chinatown, an India town, an Arab town. There's just so much to see and do in a very small island, but it's jam-packed, and you have to go out there and explore it. And once I got out there, outside of the school world, it was really a true adventure, and I really want to go back. So my few little parting thoughts for you is to really embrace being a learner. Really go out there with the mindset that you're there to learn, not as much there to teach. You're really there to see what you can gain from them and bring it back. And put that sort of teacher hat to the side and just embrace it, even if it's different than the way that you thought it was going to be, or it's different than the way it is at home and you think that that's better. Really embrace their way and learn and try and get as much information as you can. And focus on you. Don't try and solve the huge educational problems of the world. Focus on a problem that's of concern to you, an issue that drives you nuts in your classroom, or something that you know somebody somewhere has to be doing it better. Because undoubtedly there's others that have that same concern. So when you come back having figured that out, you can share it with everybody else. You know, you want to be narrow enough to be able to be successful, but not too narrow that it's just something that can be done on a computer and just Google it. The biggest thing is you have to take a chance. You have to go for it. It really is worth it. Yes, the application can be daunting, but it's so worth it to get through it, really think through the process, and that's what the application makes you do. It makes you think through what it is that you want out of this. Why are you going? And what are you going to do when you get back? And I can tell you, even though you can think of a million things, once you get back, you'll think of a million more. It's a wonderful experience. I wish you tons of luck in your application process, and cheers to all of you.